The peso is the currency of Chile. The current peso has circulated since 1975, with a previous version circulating between 1817 and 1960. The symbol used locally for it is $. The ISO 4217 code for the present peso is CLP. It is subdivided into 100 centavos, although no centavo-denominated coins remain in circulation. The exchange rate was around 600 Chilean pesos to $1 at the end of 2014. By August 2015 it fell to 694 per $1. First peso, 1817 a euro 1960. The first Chilean peso was introduced in 1817, at a value of 8 Spanish colonial reals. Until 1851, the peso was subdivided into 8 reals, with the escudo worth 2 pesos. In 1835, copper coins denominated in centavos were introduced, but it was not until 1851 that the real and escudo denominations ceased to be issued and further issues in centavos and our copyright circos commenced. Also in 1851, the peso was set equal 5 French francs on the sealed, 22.5 grams pure silver. However, gold coins were issued to a different standard to that of France, with 1 peso equals 1.37 grams gold. In 1885, a gold standard was adopted, pegging the peso to the British pound at a rate of 13 pesos equals £1. This was reduced in 1926 to 40 pesos equals £1. From 1925, coins and banknotes were issued denominated in ca d'ors, worth 10 pesos. The gold standard was suspended in 1932 and the peso's value fell further. The escudo replaced the peso on January 1, 1960 at a rate 1 escudo equals 1,000 pesos. Coins equals, between 1817 and 1851, silver coins were issued in denominations of a 1/4, a 1/2, 1 and 2 reals and 1 peso, with gold coins for 1 escudos, 2 escudos, 4 escudos and 8 escudos. In 1835, copper 1/2 and 1 centavo coins were issued. A full decimal coinage was introduced between 1851 and 1853, consisting of copper 1/2 and 1 centavo, silver 1/2 and 1 $, copyright circo, 20 and 50 centavos, and 1 peso, and gold 5 and 10 pesos. In 1860, gold 1 peso coins were introduced, followed by cupro nickel 1/2, 1 and 2 centavos between 1870 and 1871. Copper coins for these denominations were reintroduced between 1878 and 1883, with copper 2 or 1/2 centavos added in 1886. A new gold coinage was introduced in 1895, reflecting the lower gold standard, with coins for 2 pesos, 5 pesos, 10 pesos and 20 pesos. In 1896, the A 1/2 and 1 $, copyright circo were replaced by 5 and 10 centavo coins. In 1907, a short-lived, silver 40 centavo coin was introduced following cessation of production of the 50 centavo coin. In 1919, the last of the copper coins were issued. The following year, cupro nickel replaced silver in the 5, 10 and 20 centavo coins. A final gold coinage was introduced in 1926, in denominations of 20 pesos, 50 pesos and 100 pesos. In 1927, silver 2 and 5 peso coins were issued. Cupro nickel 1 peso coins were introduced in 1933, replacing the last of the silver coins. In 1942, copper 20 and 50 centavos and 1 peso coins were introduced. The last coins of the first peso were issued between 1954 and 1959. These were aluminum 1 pesos, 5 pesos and 10 pesos. Banknotes equals, the first Chilean paper money was issued between 1840 and 1844 by the Treasury of the province of Valdivia, in denominations of 4 and 8 reals. In the 1870s, a number of private banks began issuing paper money, including the Banco Agricola, the Banco de la Alianza, the Banco de Concepción, the Banco Consolidado de Chile, the Banco de Edwards YKA, the Banco de Escobar, Osa YKA, the Banco Mobiliario, the Banco Nacional de Chile, the Banco del Pobre, the Banco Sudamericano, the Banco del Sur, the Banco de la Unión Cubana and the Banco de Valparaíso. Others followed in the 1880s and 1890s. Denominations included 1 pesos, 2 pesos, 5 pesos, 10 pesos, 20 pesos, 50 pesos, 100 pesos and 500 pesos. One bank, the Banco de Edwards y Ca, also issued notes denominated in pounds sterling. In 1881, the government issued paper money convertible into silver or gold, in denominations of 1 pesos, 2 pesos, 5 pesos, 10 pesos, 20 pesos, 50 pesos, 100 pesos and 1,000 pesos. 50 centavo notes were added in 1891 and 500 pesos in 1912. In 1898, provisional issues were made by the government, consisting of private bank notes overprinted with the words Emisión Cubana Fiscal. This marked the end of the production of private paper money. In 1925, the Banco Central de Chile began issuing notes. The first, in denominations of 5 pesos, 10 pesos, 50 pesos, 100 pesos and 1,000 pesos, were overprints on government notes. In 1927, notes marked as billete provisional were issued in denominations of 5 pesos, 10 pesos, 50 pesos, 100 pesos, 500 pesos and 1,000 pesos. Regular were introduced between 1931 and 1933, in denominations of 1 pesos, 5 pesos, 10 pesos, 20 pesos, 50 pesos, 100 pesos, 500 pesos, 1,000 pesos, 5,000 pesos and 10,000 pesos. The 1 and 20 peso notes stopped production in 1943 and 1947, respectively. The remaining denominations continued production until 1959, with a 50,000 peso note added in 1958. Chilean escudo, 1960 €, 1975. Second peso, 1975 €, present. The current peso was introduced on September 29, 1975 by Decree 1123, replacing the escudo at a rate of 1 peso for 1,000 escudos. This peso was subdivided into 100 centavos until 1984. Coins equals, in 1975, coins were introduced in denominations of 1, 5, 10, and 50 centavos and 1 peso. The 1, 5, and 10 centavo coins were very similar to the 10, 50, and 100 escudo coins they replaced. Since 1983, inflation has left the centavo coins obsolete. 5 and 10 peso coins were introduced in 1976, followed by 50 and 100 peso coins in 1981 and by a 500 peso coin in 2000. Coins currently in circulation are in denominations of 1, 5, 10, 50, 100, and 500 pesos. However, most retailers tend to round the prices to the nearest 10 pesos. Right after the military dictatorship in Chile ended, the obverse designs of the 5 and 10 peso coins were changed. Those coins had borne the image of a winged female figure wearing a classical robe and portrayed as if she had just broken a chain binding her two hands together. Beside her appear the date of the coup d'etat, copyright at Roman numerals and the word Libertad. After the return of democracy, a design with the portrait of Bernardo O'Higgins was adopted. In 2001, a newly redesigned 100 peso coin bearing the image of a Mapuche woman began to circulate. In February 2010, it was discovered that on the 2008 series of the 50 peso coins the country name Chile had been misspelled as CHIIE. The National Mint said that it did not plan to recall the coins. Worth about 9 cents each at the time, the faulty coins became collector's items. Banknotes equals, in 1976, banknotes were introduced in denominations of 5, 10, 50, and 100 pesos with the reverses of the three lowest denominations resembling those of the A5,000, 10,000, and 50,000 notes they replaced. Inflation has since led to the issue of much higher denominations. 500 peso notes were introduced in May 1977, followed by 1,000 peso, 5,000 peso, 10,000 peso, 2,000 peso, and 20,000 peso notes. The 5, 10, 50, 100, and 500 peso banknotes have been replaced by coins, leaving only the 1,000, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, and 20,000 peso notes in circulation. Redesigned versions of the four highest denominations were emitted in 2009 and 2010. The popular new 1,000 peso banknote was issued on May 11, 2011. Since September 2004, the 2,000 peso note has been emitted only as a polymer banknote. The 5,000 peso note began emission in polymer in September 2009. And the 1,000 peso note was switched to polymer in May 2011. This was the first time in Chilean history that a new family of banknotes was put into circulation for other cause than the effects of inflation. As of January 2012, only the 10,000 and 20,000 peso notes are still printed on cotton paper. All new notes have the same 70 mm height, while their length varies in 7 mm steps according to their values. The shortest is the 1,000 peso note and the longest is the 20,000 peso. The new notes are substantially more difficult to falsify because of new security measures. The design and production of the whole new family of banknotes was assigned to the Australian company Note Printing Australia Limited for the 1,000, 2,000 and 5,000 peso notes and the Swedish company Crane AB for the 10,000 and 20,000 peso notes. In popular culture, colloquial Chilean Spanish has informal names for some banknotes and coins. These include Luca for 1,000 pesos, Kna for 500 pesos, and Gamba for 100 pesos. These names are old, for example Gamba and Luca applied to 100 and 1,000 escudos before 1975. Also, some banknotes are called informally by the name of the notable citizen printed on it. For example, the 5,000 peso banknote is sometimes called a Gabriela, the 10,000 peso banknote Arturo or Arturito. The 1,000 peso note is frequently referred as Luca, meaning 1,000, therefore, the 2,000 peso note can be referred as 2 Lucas note, 5,000 peso note as 5 Lucas note, 10,000 is 10 Lucas note, 1 million pesos as a Guatacube or Palo, and so on. It is interesting to note that, depending on context, a Gamba might mean 100 pesos or 100,000 pesos. For instance, a new computer might be said to cost 2 gambas. It is obvious that this means 200,000 pesos. Less commonly, this applies to Luca, taken to mean 1 million. Value of the peso against the US dollar. Between 1974 and 1979, the Chilean peso was allowed to float within a crawling band. From June 1979 to 1982 the peso was pegged to the US dollar at a fixed exchange rate. In June 1982 a euro during that year's economic crisis the peso was devalued and different exchange rate regimes were used. In August 1984 the peso returned to a system of crawling bands, which were periodically adjusted to reflect differences between external and internal inflation. Starting in September 1999, the Chilean peso was allowed to float freely against the US dollar for the first time. Chile's central bank however reserved the right to intervene, which it did on 2 occasions to counter excessive depreciation. First, in August and September 2001, coinciding with Argentina's convertibility crisis and with the September 11 attacks in the United States, and in October 2002, during Brazil's presidential election. See also, Economy of Chile, Unidad de Fomento inflation indexing of the peso used in many contracts in Chile. Notes. References, Krauss, Chester L., and Clifford Mishler. Standard Catalogue of World Coins, 1801 Euro 1991. Krauss Publications. ISBN 0873411501. Pick, Albert. Standard Catalogue of World Paper Money, General Issues. Colin A. Bruce II and Neil Schaffer. Krauss Publications. ISBN 0-87341-207-9. Pick, Albert. Standard Catalogue of World Paper Money, Specialized Issues. Colin A. Bruce II and Neil Schaffer. Krauss Publications. ISBN 0-87341-149-8. External links, coins from Chile with pictures.